What's up, my fellow phallically shaped penile structures piercing through the gates of heaven that lies beyond the phonosphere but also only within our pineal gland? Today, we are back. Every month, I feel like I have this, fucking video, just this one video where I get insanely high and talk about just physics and stuff, and I never have a script, and it's always a fucking mess, and I kind of love it, and I feel like it's been a while since I've done one of those videos where I just ramble about shit without a script and just hope it goes well. So I guess we're back. So today I want to convince you of some stuff of why the universe is cool, you know? Cuz a lot of people just take it for granted, but look around, there's a bunch of dead planets, and they do not seem like they would be fun to live on at all. Like, most planets are either covered in lava, just 24/7 fucking melting, just raining 24/7, frozen 27%. It's cold as fuck in most planets. I live in California. I'm vibing to some 72-degree weather. As soon as it gets to 74, I go, God damn, this shit's hot. Oh my god. There's fucking planets that are 2,000 degrees all the time. It's fucked up. Or negative a billion, you know? It's fucked up. And we somehow landed here with all of our different climates, all of our pretty views, and what the fuck is the world, dude? And somehow we think that other planets are cooler. Would you want to live on any other planet? Like, Jupiter just has a giant storm. Just a fucking giant storm. Just constantly. Just non-stop death. And it's big as countries. It's as big as fucking countries. And you're just yeah, that place is cooler than Earth. Nah, there's no place cooler than Earth. Earth is pretty dope. For example, did you know that there's no other fucking eclipses on other planets? Apparently, Jupiter has fucking 50 moons or whatever the fuck. He thinks he's cool. He's like, yo, look at me. I got all these moon bitches around me. I got all the hoes on my dick. You know? Fuck you, Jupiter. You eclipse? Nah, we only got one hoe. We're loyal to that bitch, and she eclipses for us. Jupiter, you ain't seen an eclipse. You've never seen an eclipse with your stupid little big, beautiful eyes. Saturn with your fucking fancy ass rings. Fuck you. Do you even eclipse, bro? Because apparently, the conditions have to be absolutely perfect in order for the moon to eclipse. The moon has to be, I don't know if this is the exact numbers because I haven't looked too much into it, but from my memory, it's something 400 times smaller than the fucking sun, and perfectly in line, and perfectly the size of the sun from our perspective, in our point of view, and has to be perfectly aligned in such a distance where if it was a couple miles that way, it would not eclipse. If it was a couple miles that way, it would not eclipse. It has to be 400 times smaller than the sun and 400 times closer to Earth in proximity of the sun's distance. I don't know if that sentence makes sense, but sun's over here, boys over here, the Earth, us boys over here, the moon's over here 400 times closer than the sun. And if it's 400 times smaller, then the moon can eclipse. There's no other eclipses on other planets, just because of how unlikely it is for the moon to be perfectly right there in the perfect spot with the sun and be the perfect shape to fill the sun. It just doesn't fucking eclipse, but for some reason our fuckers eclipse. And then you look at the universe as a whole. I was reading this book. It's a fucking, I don't know, something about time or some shit from Stephen Hawking. And apparently, the universe just should not exist. If the vibrations emitted from the Big Bang were a millionth of a percent bigger, then the universe would be too dense to fill within galaxies, and it would just be not good. If the Big Bang was a couple of degrees hotter, the universe would be fucking way too hot to form galaxies. And if the vibrations from the Big Bang were emitted were a millionth of the degree less, a millionth of the degree smaller, the universe would, instead of forming galaxies, would just form non-stop black holes, and it would just suck into the infinite nothingness like I do with your mother. She sucks me into the infinite nothingness. That's what happens to the universe as a whole. And apparently it just has to have this Goldilocks feature of just everything being absolutely perfect for the universe to form. and then it expands in a big bang. But if the big bang kept expanding, because usually the big bang blows up and then it goes faster and faster, but some unknown force that we think is dark energy slowed the universe down because it's expanding, but it's too hot and too warm for any galaxies to form because it's expanding so fast and so hot that we're just like, I can't live here, bro. But then some unknown energy that we think is dark matter slowed that shit down for an unknown period of time. It just like, we were going like boom, and then he's just like, hey, by the way, we're gonna chill for a bit. And then that's when galaxies formed. And then galaxies formed stars and shit like that. And then it went back to expanding faster and faster. So now that's why we think the universe is speeding up. But if it never slowed down, and if that unknown force never slowed down the expansion of the universe, we would not be here at all. And then those bitches formed stars. And they have formed nuclear fusion within the stars that is perfectly fit to make carbon. And for some, carbon is like the biggest factor in creation. It's like the reason we're here. It's the reason we're alive. But the carbon does not naturally form in the universe. Like all these fucking millionth of a percentiles have to happen, like millionth of a percent, 1 in a million, like winning the lottery, just for stars to form, and then the galaxies to form, and then millionth of a percentile, 1 in a million lottery for fucking stars to form, and then those stars form carbon, and carbon is the basis of our existence. We wouldn't exist without carbon because it's like the building blocks of life, but it's only formed within stars. And if that star's heat was just like, if the forces emitted from the strong and weak nuclear fusion that combine to make carbon within the stars, there's a whole carbon process. I'm pretty sure it's strong and weak nuclear fusion that combines it within the star. I'm not sure. I read the book high as fuck, and I'm still high as fuck, so my thought process isn't the best. I'm not the smartest. I'm just reverberating details from fucking space books that I think are cool. I'm sorry if I get it a little bit wrong. I'm a dumb little high guy. I just think this is cool. But anyways, I digress. If those bitches were like a millionth of a degree hotter, or a millionth of the strong nuclear forces were a millionth of a percentile, or like not a millionth, if it was just a couple percent stronger or a couple percent weaker, carbon wouldn't form, and carbon is the basis of our life. So life wouldn't form as we know it if the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force were just a tiny bit stronger or weaker. All life as we know it wouldn't exist. And then we realize we're on a fucking floating space rock just surfing throughout space, millions of fucking miles per hour if you count how fast the fucking galaxies are spinning around each other. Thousands of miles per hour if you just look at Earth. Like, Earth just be fucking vibing, moving faster than the speed of light. Not really, but like, it feels like it. Like, homie's just fucking gliding through space at thousands of miles per hour, and we're just like, life's kind of boring. And then you like fucking look at it. Like, just look at how beautiful it is, dude. Like, you ever see a picture of that shit from space? That shit's crazy. Everything else looks dead, and then there's like blinks of light, just tiny little millimolecules of light in the far vast fucking distance. And we look at Earth and all of her beauty. Like, if an alien came from like one of those planets just that constantly on fire, thousands of degrees, they adapted to survive in that bitch somehow, like constantly on water, underwater, just raining all the time. It's raining acid in some planets is raining diamond. That's kind of cool. Uranus fucking spitting straight diamonds. But like, if you came from one of those planets, and if you were like a bitch from one of those planets, and you're like, I'm used to just the world being on fire, everything's burning, and you saw Earth, you'd be like, that's fucking heaven right there. That right there, that's heaven. Like, there's fucking plant life. Look at how green it is. There's water. Oh my god, there's nice places for like every different species of animal to develop and nourish itself into existence. Like, there's life all over this place, diversity everywhere. There's crazy shit happening. There's these fucking hairless monkeys ruling the world. This is a fucking wild place to live. Let's fuck with it for a bit. Like, if you came from any other planet, if I came from any other planet, Earth is where I want to go. Like, have you seen all the other options we have? Like, it seems cool in theory, but like, would you realistically want to be on Mars? Like, realistically, just a big ass desert where you have to have like a spacesuit to breathe, just like rocks everywhere. Like, it's negative like 300 degrees there, just 24/7. Like, would you want to live there or just Earth where you could just go to fucking Switzerland? You could go to fucking Japan. You could go to fucking Mexico. You could just turn it up and all these cool ass places. See the different habitats of the world, all the animals, all the wild species, the weird ass humans that fucking exist, and be like, yo, this shit, it's kind of bussin', dude. It's kind of funky with it. And also, did you know that, like, there's a lot more dimensions? If string theory is correct, there's like 12 dimensions or something, and we can only perceive 3. Which, like, at first is like, I can't even, like, that just doesn't make sense to me, you know? But, like, here's the thing, boys. Our brains develop to survive. They don't really develop to see reality as it is. Because we know, like, objectively, we know that certain animals can only see, can see more light than us. Like, they could see more colors. They could see a bigger spectrum of the electromagnetic spectrum of light. Like, on the electromagnetic spectrum, there's like ultraviolet, there's X-ray, there's like all those bitches, you know? And we know that's a whole vast spectrum of light we can't see. We only could perceive like 5% of the electromagnetic spectrum of light, which is like the wide array of light that we could perceive in the universe. But we only could perceive like 5% of that bitch, you know? We know more animals can perceive different colors that we can't even begin to comprehend, because what the fuck is another color? I don't fucking know. And same with sound. There's a bunch of animals that can hear sounds that we can't even begin to hear because they're just on a different frequency than us. Same with smell, same with touch, some shit like that, you know? Like, there's a bunch of stuff where we can't perceive. Like, air looks empty to us, like, nothing there, right? But there's just molecules everywhere. We can't perceive that. We don't understand that. Like, we could understand it if we look at it mathematically and through the terms of science and shit like that. And we're like, got it. But when you look, there's still nothing there. So, like, different dimensions exist. It's just we're not evolved enough to see them, right? Because our brains are adapted for survival. They're not adapted to understand all of this shit. And it doesn't mean there's like a bunch of places we could go to that we can access through like an extra dimensional portal. It's not dimensions like I'm going to the hellish dimension, I'm going to Nirvana or whatever the fuck. It's not places you could go to. Like, this straw in the first dimension is the same as the straw in the second dimension. Like, how we can perceive a drawing, I mean, like, that's a 2D thing. That's a 2D square. But someone in a 2D will never understand what a cube is. They're like, what the fuck is this? I can't understand it, because in their perspective, that cube is just a square. Everything is two-dimensional. We can see both the 2D and the 3D and the 1D. The 1D's nuts that's going inside your mother. Anyways, we can perceive all of that. But we don't know what the fuck a tesseract looks like. It's a fourth dimensional object, and we can mathematically calculate, like, that shit. What the fuck does it look like? I don't fucking know, man. We could try to figure it out, but, like, in reality, I'm never going to be able to perceive a tesseract. But it's the same thing as a cube in our dimension. It's just I can't perceive it because my brain is not evolved enough, you know? So then let's get into, like, my favorite way to describe life. So basically, there's this silly little thing we like to call string theory, right? And a lot of people were confused about it for a second, because they're like, hey, here's my theory of string theory. There's these strings that vibrate through these dimensions and stuff like that, because, you know, strings vibrate between dimensions. It's kind of silly, like they constantly are fluctuating between the first and the third dimension. And then they were like, wait, my strings don't vibrate between the first and third dimension. They vibrate between your mother, but also between the sixth and ninth dimension, like the 69 I had with your mother. I'm sorry, I'll stop for now with those jokes. But yeah, they're like vibrating like this frequency in this way, and then they're like so there was like 5 different types of theories, and they were like, I don't fucking get any of it. And one baller just said, fuck it, we ball M theory. I'm going to fucking describe all of these string theories, but they're all right, and they're just all different strings that vibrate through different frequencies, through different vibrations. through different dimensions, you know? There's this one fucker, Albert Einstein. He's kind of smart. He's like, the basis for a smart guy. If you thought of like, who the fuck is the smartest motherfucker, most people are like Einstein, that bitch. He's like the basis for the smartest boy we got. We're like, who's the smart boy? That's him. He has this one quote: "If you could understand the world through the terms of vibrations, then you understand how the universe works." So these strings are constantly vibrating, and all of our senses are vibrations. Like, the vibration of photons through our perception senses gives us our sense of sight. The same with taste, smell, hearing, all that good bitches. So these strings vibrate to give us our five senses, and they vibrate through dimensions to give us our perception of reality on this world. And there's like 5 of them that are vibrating through different dimensions, that make different sounds, that make different frequencies to play us a little song that we like to call life, or a game that we like to call life. So I view the world as a little fucking guitar, and the universe is playing us a song. And we forget that we're supposed to dance along to it, because this song is busting and it's schmooing all around, and people take it seriously, and they're like, what's the purpose of this song? When was the last time you listened to a song with purpose? You just wanted to catch a fucking groove, have a good time, bop out to some jammy jams, fuck it up with your homie, Like, the purpose of the song is not to get to the end. It's not to die. It's to celebrate the song, feel the vibrations flowing through your fucking DNA. Give it a little groove, get a little funky with it. You're not supposed to take music that seriously. It's supposed to turn your brain off and enjoy that bitch. And this universe is playing us the greatest love song there is. And we forget we're supposed to enjoy it. We're thinking, what's the purpose of this song? Why must this song exist? Why is it being played in my ears? I must understand this song. And most of the time the dude's just like, I don't fucking know, I'm just mumbling. And you're like, what is this? And he's like, dude, just catch the vibe. It's not that deep. Just enjoy this shit, homie. And there's so many different forms of art that we can appreciate this song in. We can look at it mathematically, which is the numbers that make up the universe. Because the universe is just one little thing. It's one infinitesimally small point that the universe began. That's the Big Bang. It all started at an infinitesimally small point, and then it expanded rapidly. It started dividing. So we have one infinitely small point where everything in the universe happened, and then exponential growth happened, where if it's like the 1 divides into 2, and then the 2 divides into that, and then it just blows up really, really big, So it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's the Big Bang. It's just this one infinitesimally small point that just expands all of a sudden because exponential growth or some shit. I don't know. I'm not pretending like I understand the beginning of the universe. No one fucking does, and we probably won't for a hot minute. But that's the best solution I got. And the calculations of the Big Bang say, like, started this big and then it just fucking exploded and got really hot and shit was fucking crazy for a bit. And like a lot of people can hear that and be like, yeah, that makes sense. And if you could understand and believe that, you could understand and believe anything. Like, it's crazy that like people will be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. The fact that there's more dimensions than we can perceive, fuck you. That makes no sense to me. You're wrong. But also, by the way, did you know that like the world itself changes when you perceive it? Like, the latest Nobel Prize recently just came out with this thing, and it was like, hey, by the way, we don't think the universe is locally real. And then Mr. Nobel, the prize giver himself, was like, for real, bro? He's like, yeah. Like, watch this. Look at this electron. What's it doing? And then he's like, obviously, electrons vibrate. They act as a wave function when they're just vibing around. He's like, but look at this. When we perceive them, they act as a particle. They solidify. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah. The universe itself changes when we perceive it. It's trippy as fuck, dude. Yeah. So basically, what did I just say? Mathematically, we were like, what are electrons? Because we have this view of an atom. There's a nucleus, and then there's one little boy floating around them. And we're like, yeah, that makes sense. because it makes sense for a while. But like when we perceive it mathematically, it looks like a wave function. Like there's a little boy, and then there's a wave of energy going throughout space in between the electrons. So it's very weird because everything is made up of atoms. So if you look at it as like the nucleus and the boy floating around, 99.9% of like, or 99.98, I think, or 99.9. I don't fucking know. We could just round up 99.9. Who the fuck cares? Percent of space is empty, you know? It's just mostly empty space. And if you look at it through the lens of electron being a vibration, being a fucking wave particle, then most of space is taken up. So you're like, which one's right? So mathematically, we were like, all right, it's acting as a wave. So we did a double split experiment, and when we did that experiment, we proved that it was acting as a wave particle. So we were like, all right, bet. So electrons are wave particles. Let's observe it. And when we observed it and did the experiment again, it started acting as a particle, like a solidified, grounded particle and not a wave particle. And it changed its basis of operations when we looked at it, and we were like, what the fuck, boys? This is fucking crazy, dude. So, like, basically, the universe, from what I understand, I'm not pretending to be a specialist on any of this. I don't understand shit. I'm 20, dude. I just think this shit's cool. But from what I got from it, I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified in any way. I just get stoned and think science is cool. That's my life. Don't take it too seriously. This could all just be a lie. I could be making shit up and you'll never know. But you could also fact check me if you want. You could do whatever the fuck you want on me. But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah. So basically, the way I understand it is, think of a Schrodinger. Think that homie's cat. You know how, like, basically, like, a lot of people perceive that, the example of Schrodinger's cat as, like, us being like, we have no idea what the fuck's going on in physics. Because basically, it's like, we have a cat in a box. We don't know if it's alive or dead until we look at it. And they're like, wow, that's crazy. There's a mystery, and you don't know what the mystery is until you look at it. But this thing that I'm getting from this is that it's not like the cat died, and then you open the box and you're like, that cat's dead. No, when you have this 50-50 particle, like an quartz can either be positive or negative, and it could either be spinning clockwise or counterclockwise, you know, like that shit. One of the particle boys. We could either be doing that or that, and you don't know until you observe it. But what the Schrodinger's thing is, it's not that it's positive or negative, and we don't know until we observe it. It's that it's both. The cat is both alive and dead, and we only change that outcome when we observe it. So it's really weird, and it's fucking trippy as shit, because the past and is equally affected by the future as the future is equally affected by the past, you know? So everything is an ever-present moment that's in a superposition of, like, both this and that. And we only could change the outcome when we perceive it. So history solidifies when we perceive it, because it's constantly changing even now. History is happening in this exact moment, but it only solidifies itself when we perceive it. It's like a game. You have two options. Kill the homie, let the homie live. Both those options are in the code of the game. Both, like, if you had a near-death experience, you would have had one universe that split off, where you died. One universe where you came back and was like, holy shit, I have a near-death experience. I saw into the afterlife. That shit was fucking trippy as hell, bro. You know? Both those existences are currently happening, but our perception of it solidifies that code into our perception of the universe. So, there's timelines where Hitler won World War II, and it solidified itself where he didn't through our perception of it, you know? So it's not like that cat's dead. I look at it and it's still dead, but now I just know it's dead. No, it's both dead and alive, and it solidifies itself when we perceive it. So it's really trippy because quantum physics says everything's happening now, and the future can affect the past. So the things we discover today can solidify the timeline of the past. There's multiple possibilities and the multiple timelines that are jumping all everywhere. And when we discover something, it just solidifies that thing. So, for example, like stars. They can explode, die, have all this shit. There's different possibilities that can happen to all these stars. And it's in a fluid state of all of those things happening. Everything's in a fluid state of just every possibility happening. And when we perceive those stars, we know we solidify their historical records. So, when we perceive galaxies, it takes millions of light years for other galaxies to hit us. So we see galaxies as they were millions of years ago. So us perceiving these galaxies makes them stationary in time millions of years ago. So our perception of the past in this present moment solidifies that moment in time millions of years ago, right? Sorry if that doesn't make sense, but it's my perception of how this works. So basically, we see one of the first galaxies that we can ever discover with the new James Webb Space Telescope. We get to see because of how big of a boy it is, we get to see galaxies that are far, far away. So there are billions of years. These galaxies formed billions of years in the past, and we're just now seeing them now because it takes billions of years for the light to get to us. So we're basically seeing them as they were billions of years in the past. But the way we observe them now, and the way that we view them now, solidifies their past and their history through us observing it, which is fucking trippy as shit, because before we observed it, they were in a constant flow of all of these possibilities happening at the same time, and then we solidified it in our perception of time through this reality when we observed it in this present moment. So our present moment right now can affect the past of galaxies billions of years younger than us, which is trippy as fuck, boys. And that's why I like science, because it's like, isn't it cool? What the fuck is reality? It's constantly changing, and it solidifies itself through our perception of it. So we could just change reality at will if we believe hard enough, but this fucking code that solidifies our rules of reality that we perceive as our rules is very fucking convincing. So I can't just flick myself through different dimensions. Mentally, I should be able to, but it just doesn't work like that, you know? And it's fucking trippy as fuck, and that's why I love it. So yeah, that's basically why I like getting high and just talking about science and shit. I think it's fun as shit. I hope you guys think it's fun as shit, and I hope I get some of y'all interested into science, because it's a really cool field that is trippy as fuck, and it just blows people's minds, and it's really, really fascinating, but it's such a daunting thing to get into, because it seems like such a boring and stationary subject. Ooh, let's go into my work and do math for a living. Nah, it's you want to break reality with us? Come join us. So if you're also interested in this shit, I have to say, hey, look further into it. It's cool as fuck. I recommend it. Hey, and if you like this, I'll try to come out with more shit like this in the future. But I'm learning at a very slow rate, because I also have work and school to do. So I have to not study all the time like a fucking nerd. So I'm sorry, these videos might take a while to come out, but I'll try my best. So if you want to see more shit like this, if you want to see some goofy shit like me reading One Piece or fucking Berserk, in the meantime me playing video games, I do that a lot on this channel. Make sure to comment, subscribe, and eventually I'll try to come out with more videos like this, so you don't fucking leave me. Please don't leave me. Anyways, but yeah, thank you all for joining us. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you next time, boys. Bye bye.